Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from Human Events dated September 13th. And the headline itself kind of made me go, I need to read about this. And I haven't actually read the article myself yet, so we're going to go through this together. And it's from the author here is Rabbi Michael Barkley. Says Americans of faith must speak out against the digital yellow stars parishioners at Santa Clara County Calvary Church are forced to wear. Man, that's a tongue twister. Santa Clara County Calvary Church. But yeah, I saw, and I've said this before, being a Jew, being one of God's chosen people, you know, kind of see something like this, the yellow stars, and I go, okay, what the hell is happening here? So it kind of made me go, I think I need to look into this a little further. So let's dive right in. And there are ads all over the place here. I'm trying to knock these off as they come up. So it says, religious faith is by definition a private issue. We may choose to make it part of our public lives, but it is ultimately a private relationship that each of us have with God. Whether that relationship is through the Jewish practice of mitzvot, which is observing God's commandments, the Catholic and Christian practice of fully accepting Jesus in our hearts, or even the semi-secular practice of the 12 steps of addiction recovery, each of us develop our own personal relationship with God. And like a loving parent, God loves each of his children as individuals, which is why every person of faith should be scared of what is happening to a Calvary church in California and carefully watching the lawsuit that has been brought against Santa Clara County. Now, it says here he says a Calvary church. Is the church called Calvary Church, or is there like a specific type of church that's called a Calvary church? I do not know this. So if anybody listening to this can just elaborate on that for me, let me know, because again, I don't know anything about that. It says the county and church have a challenging history. The church did not close during the pandemic. Well, good for them. They shouldn't have. And is still fighting against the 1.2 million in fines that the county assessed them for staying open, which shouldn't be a thing. Composed mainly of politically conservative members, of course, this spiritual community is filled with people who oppose the dangers of big government as modeled by the state of California. I can't say I blame them for that. No, but while the fight continues, the lawsuit, represented by advocates for faith and freedom, contends that the county has been violating the Fourth Amendment of parishioners through the use of tracking when congregants come to church. Yeah, that's not good. And I keep thinking this ad that keeps popping up here is some sort of documentation for the article, but it's not. It's just an ad. It says using a method known as geofencing, based on apps like Google that are on congregants' phones, the county has been able to identify who is going to church and when. Even though no one gave permission for these apps to be used this way, the county has conspired with tech companies to track every parishioner in real time. As a Jew with knowledge of history, this is terrifying. Yeah, I mean, right when I was reading like this, I said, how is this not like severe government overreach? What the hell gives them the right to track who's going to church? I mean, even if it is during the pandemic, which, yeah, that shouldn't have happened. Like, who allowed them to do this? This is a massive. I think this is a massive breach of privacy. It seems to me this is a Fourth Amendment violation for sure. So going back to the article, it says it was only in the last century that Jews experienced the same type of tracking and marking in Nazi Germany with the brand of the yellow star. I was thinking that people were actually wearing stuff, something that pointed out that they were going to church. For some reason, my brain didn't calculate like, oh, it's an internet thing. They can track your phone, or so. I just wasn't thinking of that. So stupid me. The Jews were forced to wear yellow stars embroidered on their clothing so they could easily be identified by the regime. This practice actually started in the 8th century caliphates and has reached its zenith with the Nazis, who used it not only as a way of keeping track of their enemies, but to make it easier when the time came to round the Jews up to send to the death camps. That is totally factual, because instead of embroidery, the government is now using smartphones to identify, label, and follow potential disruptors and future enemies. For all people of faith, this should send chills up our spines. Let's not forget for a moment how this is clearly against the ethical principles and laws of our nation. It is a practice that is frightening on the deepest levels as it attacks our choices of personal prayer. It just attacks privacy. I mean, yeah, it certainly is. I think it's, a religious freedom violation, but like, again, what the hell gives any government, whether it's local, state, or federal, the right to track if you're going to church or not? Whether it's during a pandemic or not. Who cares? Um, yeah, all the in my opinion, all the people who like the town should be sued into oblivion, and all the people individually who are bringing this lawsuit up or trying to do anything about this and trying to force this down the parishioners' throat should be sued into oblivion as well. Like, just bankrupt them. So back to the article, it says, consider how this practice can affect each individual. What if there's a church or synagogue that you wish to experience, but you know that the government is targeting that pastor, rabbi, or priest? You know that by attending, you'll be marked as a disruptor by the government, and it may ultimately negatively affect multiple aspects of your life. So you become scared and avoid deepening your personal faith because of fear of being tracked and marked. Think of how this can destroy religious practices and subjugate religion to the state. Consider how it hurt interfaith events as clergy only interact with safe clergy so as not to become marked. Right, no kidding. Says, as a rabbi, I've made it a point for years to honor my Catholic and Christian brothers and sisters by attending Christmas Eve services. Am I, excuse me, am I now to check out which church I go to based on personal politics of the clergy? Can I no longer go experience the wisdom of Bishop Strickland or my dear friend Pastor Rob McCoy out of concern for being branded by the government? Should people be scared of being tagged and no longer come to our synagogue because I've been branded for the different outlets I read in, and our temple has been marked as being the only temple in the state of California that never closed our doors during the pandemic? The fear is a powerful motivator, and the government is clearly trying to use it to keep congregants away from their houses of worship. But the remedy for fear is faith. It is an unquestioned truth that faith and fear cannot exist in the same place at the same time. The more of one, the less of the other. Interesting. I'd never thought of it that way, but yeah, I mean, just very surface level thinking about it. Okay, makes sense to me. Because this is exactly why authoritarian governments have always attacked religion. While a regime wants to increase control through fear, religions encourage a faith that subdues fear, and as a result, decreases the power of any fear based government on the individual. Personal faith will always triumph over fear based control. Yeah, so this is exactly why authoritarian governments have always attacked religion. I mean, look at the Soviet Union. Who did they go after first? You know, the Christians. Look at even the Spanish Civil War, which I'm currently reading about right now. And, I'm probably like, I think halfway through the book, but one of the very first things in there was how the communists or the Republicans, which were not our Republicans that we have in the United States today, but they were the left at that time. That was one of the first things they did, is that they went after the church and the people. They just executed people. They didn't care. That's what they did. Says this is why all people of faith must continue hold on, let me start that again. Says this is why all people of faith must support this church in its fight, and that should be it's without an apostrophe. It says this is why we must refuse to allow anyone or any organization, government, or company to affect our personal spiritual beliefs or practices. And it is why it is more important than ever that we continue to support our religious communities with our attendance, in spite of and because of the attempts of big tech and governments to stop our religious practices. So a few years ago, musicians Jimmy Levy and Hi-Rez wrote the song This Is a War, in which they point out that mandated vaccines are not just a war on the children, but a war on religion. Anytime that fear is encouraged or even mandated, our faith is being attacked. Each time someone tries to mark us with a yellow star for being a person of faith, we must stand up for all people of all faiths. Yeah, because if it happens to one, it's going to come for you. Next. So yeah, that's totally understandable. It says, may we all reject fear entirely in favor of embracing our faith, our religion, and our relationship with God. And that is the end of the article. So yeah, this is scary. I mean, if it's happening in this one place, and like if a judge says no, that's allowed, then man, I have real problems with things that are going to be happening in this country as if I didn't already. But this is already pretty ridiculous. So what do you guys think about this? In the comments below, let me know because again, this is really, really scary stuff that we're seeing here, and hopefully the government gets shot down hard on this one because this, again, like I said, seems like a definite violation of the Fourth Amendment. So, again, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.